This is sort of a continuation about the previous thing about faith and reason, and about how my conclusion of the whole Jacobi Mendelssohn 19th century pantheism controversy type of thing was on Jacobi's side, and that theism, religion, and Christianity are not, and reason together cannot work together because faith and trust and knowledge faith and trust in a supreme being that has only been experienced in this weird ways, not exactly reasonable, even though Christians, we value it in this weird way, even though it's not knowledge of this being, because we can't exactly know about our senses anyway, about what we're experiencing in our brain. We can't exactly know that that's anything other than what's a part of ourself, or at least that's my viewpoint of it. But what I want to do now is this is sort of a continuation because I want to think about faith and knowledge of things. I want to think about faith and knowledge and what those two exactly are in epistemological ways. And I want to first look at knowledge, because I've been sort of thinking about it a lot with response to justification, kind of because I've been thinking about a lot of how things are justified, like if you have like coherentism, internalism, foundationalism, and I've been thinking about all that stuff, but I've been thinking mostly about how this stemmed from Edmund Gettiers is justified true belief knowledge. Actually, there's a PDF of that paper online. I think all of you, if you're watching any of this, should read that, because his conclusion with his case is he had these little things where S knows P if and only if qualifications A, B, and C work. And mostly this is then after that he had cases with Jones and Smith, these two characters, where about how Jones will get the job, and I talked about this in a previous video, but his basic conclusion was that justified true belief is not exactly knowledge, because it's all about how you get from one thing to another. The whole thing in Gettiers' thing was about false entailment, and a lot of stuff. Also, I'll leave there's an annotation right here to the video where I go through the whole entire thing and talk about why he says that justified true belief is not knowledge. But knowledge, let's think about the whole thing about subject S knows proposition P. This is just like I was talking about, like this cup here. Do I know that this is something outside of myself? Do I know that? I have strong belief that, yes. But do I know that? Absolutely not. The only thing, because of this is, maybe somebody should talk about knowledge who doesn't have such an idealist or skeptical view of things that I do. Maybe somebody else should talk about this, who is maybe an actual metaphysical realist, should talk about knowledge. But the only thing I think that can be knowledge in a subject is knowledge of your own thoughts, knowledge of own events that are in your brain, knowledge of own states of affairs that are going on inside of your own consciousness or your own mind. Like I can be conscious of, I'm thinking about this cup. I can be like, I know that I'm thinking about this cup, or I know that I think I'm seeing a real ontologically existent cup. I know that I'm thinking that I'm seeing a ontologically existent marker. I know that I'm thinking, or I know that this is happening inside of here. this is the only thing I think, because you have justified true belief, you have belief, which can be justified for certain reasons. Go read all the epistemology after 1960. Go read Elvin Goldman's what's it called? What is justified belief? I think the one that I'm thinking of, where he goes through a ton of more cases than Gettier does, and talks about knowledge and all this stuff. But my thought about knowledge is that one can only have knowledge of things that are going on inside of oneself. So, because knowledge, if S knows P, you have all the things like justified belief. The whole thing has to be true. But then you have to have one thing beyond that makes it actual knowledge. I know that I'm thinking that I see a cup because I have a sort of oneness with my thoughts. I have a oneness with everything that my consciousness and mind are dealing with. So knowledge is a very high standard of understanding. It's a very high thing. It's a very high entity that we think that we deal with every day about things outside of ourselves, but we really don't. So that is what I'm thinking about knowledge, without going into the big epistemological meanings and understandings from epistemologist to epistemologist of knowledge. That's without doing that. I can go into so much more epistemology of knowledge and justification, and how justification and true belief, and that one extra step gets you to knowledge. But that's for a different purpose. But I want to compare this whole idea of knowledge as this high standard of entity of knowledge, and I want to compare that to what this faith thing is. Now, we can talk about any kind of faith. We can talk about Fichte's faith, not Fichte's faith, but Fichte's faith. We can talk about any kind of faith, really, because faith is belief in something to be true or existent that you have not that you have no justification for, or you have no knowledge about. Faith in something is belief in something's existence or its truth when you have no justification or knowledge for that belief. For instance, I've said before, even though I've had these indirect religious experiences, which makes me have strong belief and strong conviction of a belief in God, strongly, way to the point where I would bet my whole entire life and all of it contains, all that contains, all my money, all my possessions, all my family, even, I'd bet everything, all my entire life, on the fact that there is a God. This is faith. This is not knowledge. Breaking down this whole idea of faith, I have no knowledge, even though I've had these experiences. There's a tiny possibility, what I think is a tiny possibility, that those religious experiences are not religious experiences at all, but they're only manifestations of my own consciousness. My consciousness is deceiving myself, or possibly some other being more powerful than myself, deceiving me. Such as Descartes even thought that Satan might be deceiving him. It might even be that. I have no idea. There's this slight possibility. Now, I strongly believe that's not the case. I strongly believe that I'm not being deceived. I strongly believe that this is not just a deception. I strongly believe that this was a true religious experience. I strongly believe and I have strong faith in the fact that there is a supreme God here up here above that is omniscient, that caused me to have those experiences. And yet I still cannot say that I know this is true. I said this a lot in the past few videos, so I'm sorry if I'm reiterating things too much. But this is faith because I don't have knowledge. So this is basically beliefs. Everybody has beliefs about everything, and you can have knowledge about the existence or truth of the containment of your belief. And if you don't have that, that high standard of knowledge, yet you have very strong convictions, as I do, that I would bet everything I have, everything I've ever had, everybody I know, everything on this one belief. This is when you turn to faith, because you have this sort of you have this absence of knowledge, where you are just having faith because of your experiences. This is mostly just lack of knowledge, because you can't have knowledge. You cannot have reasonable knowledge that is led to knowledge through reason. You cannot have things through reason, even in faith. If you're having faith in something, this means that you are not able to go through to these beliefs through reason. It means a lot of things. So I think it's cool to look at these two things, because they both stem from beliefs, and they both stem from what's absence, what's there and what's not there. If is there knowledge there? Is there reason in this belief? Can you get to certain justification or knowledge through reason in this belief? Or, can you get to anything in this belief? And if you can't, you either drop the belief, or if you still have strong conviction, even though you don't have justification and knowledge, then you can have faith. So faith is just a difficult thing to think about. I think it's not difficult to think about, but it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm a little bit discouraged when I think about faith, because it's just an absence of knowledge. But I still have these beliefs. I'm not discouraged as my beliefs. I still have these beliefs as strong as I ever have. But when I look at the actual semantic meanings of things, it kind of makes me think about the way things really are, and I don't know. It's kind of something to think about, I guess, about faith and knowledge. And if you're thinking about this as I am, you should think, might not want to throw that word "no" around as much, or only use the word "no" when you actually do know something. Use "I'm faithful" or "I'm trustful" or "I'm trusting" in cases when you are trusting and faithful, when you don't have knowledge. And again, this does not correspond to reason. So this is sort of a continuation of the first of my video about reason and theism, or religion, because you don't have these things. You don't have reason in this whole thing, domain of faith and religion. So I don't know. It's kind of a cool thing to talk about, though, even though it's kind of difficult. But I will see you guys later.